Ever thought about building your own AI model but felt held back by all the complex coding and data science? What if I told you that you could create a fully functional image classification model in minutes without writing a single line of code? In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that using Microsoft's Custom Vision AI. It's as simple as drag, drop, and train. By the end of this video, you'll have a working image classifier API, and you'll see how easy it is to get started, even if coding isn't your thing. So let's dive in and build your first image classification model. No coding required. All right, so this is Microsoft's Custom Vision AI. It is a user-friendly tool for building and training image classification models. And the best part is, you don't need any coding experience to get started. With Custom Vision AI, you can create projects and help your model learn to recognize different types of images just by uploading and dragging them into the UI, and it is designed to be as simple as possible. So let's jump in to start experimenting. Now, before we start, you will need to sign in with a Microsoft account, and it is best that you register a free Azure account for later use because your model and your training is going to run on an Azure resource. Once you have signed in, you will see a very simple UI, which is managing your projects, and that's where you get started. We will work through setting up a new project, adding some images, training the model, and testing it out, and that's all on this platform. Let's start with creating a project. Now, for this project, I'm going to try to make an image classifier to distinguish between apples and tomatoes. I'm going to name this project Apple versus Tomatoes. Then I need to choose an Azure resource that I'm going to run my model or my training operations. In this case, I need to select a new resource. I haven't got any, so I'm just going to create a new subscription and then create a new use resource group. If you're not familiar with Azure, I can create another video in the future to give you a quick introduction to Azure. But right now, let's just try to fill out all the fields that's asked. I'm going to create a new resource group called AI Demo and set it to Australia East. Once it's created, select your resource, and then the UI is going to ask you what type of project it is. For us today, we're going to do a simple classification, but you can do object detections, which we can dive into in the future videos. And the different classification type you can choose. In our case, apples versus tomatoes, you will be a single tag per image. It's a multi-class type of classification. Now for the domain, because apple and tomato are both food, we can say it's a food domain. If you are doing a specific topic or demo, which is not in here, for example, if you try to distinguish between screws and nails, then you probably would try to select general. In terms of compact, select this category if you need to export the trained model later on. I used to have projects that run on an IoT scenario, which is Raspberry Pi, and if you want to run something locally on a Raspberry Pi, you don't want a huge model. And let's wait for the project to create. Now you can see the UI here is showing you something pretty straightforward. This is where you can upload your image. You can either click the button to upload images or drag and drop images onto this dashboard or this blank space. Later on, when you get the images, you will need to tag them. But let's start with uploading some images first. I've prepared some test data, apples and tomatoes. I am going to just drag and drop some images in here. I am uploading 164 images, and while I am at it, I can give them a tag, in this case apple, and boom, all 164 images are uploaded and tagged as apple. Of course, you can choose to upload them one by one, but that's usually not a very productive way. So apples uploaded, let's add tomatoes. As a general guide, when you're doing multi-class, in this case we are trying to classify between two labels, it's a good practice to try to upload similar amount of data, because it's going to give the model a more balanced input of data. Great, we've got our images all uploaded. Let's try to train the classification model. For the purpose of demo, I'm going to use quick training, but you could have more advanced training to try to achieve a better result. In saying that, it depends on your data, it depends on the quality of your data. Sometimes a quick training will be as good as a longer training. Now the training begins, the iteration will run for a while. I'm going to pause this video and come back. All right, now that our training has finished, the system is going to display some details for you. The numbers in the 3 pie charts are looking pretty good. If you don't understand what this means, don't worry. I'll explain what they are in the future videos where we try to build our own models. Let's do a quick test and see how this model performs. I'm going to upload a random tomato image I downloaded from the internet. It gives me a very confident score, 99.7%, that this image represents a tomato, which is correct. How about an apple? Great, 97%. As you can see, the model that we trained has turned out just fine, and let's try to find an interesting image online to see if it actually can tell. How about that we paste in the icon of Apple? Quite magically, it figures out that an Apple icon actually looks like an apple, so good job, Apple designers. But yeah, this is just for fun. For example, if you actually put in something random, you can confuse the model because the model only trains on the images that you give them. Once you're happy with your classification model, you can actually choose to publish it into an API. And once it's published, you could basically do a post to the API, upload an image, and it will spit out a result in a JSON format for you. Let me show you how it looks like. For the purpose of this demo, I'm just going to use Postman to show you how to do it. Let me try to copy over the URL. Now, the UI doesn't tell you, but from what you see in the previous screen, it's actually requiring you to do a post. Content type is application/JSON, and you need to paste in a prediction key, which is more like the authorization key. We need to do a post, and in the body, let's paste in the sample JSON. In this case, I'm going to simply try to find a random image from the internet and paste in and let the API run. It returns a JSON result. In this case, it predicts that this is 99.9% probable that it's an apple, with a very unlikely probability of being a tomato. As you can see, you can use this prediction API in your application backend to provide image classification capabilities now. But keep in mind, this is actually quite slow when you're talking about the time it takes, which in this case, 3 seconds. Therefore, if you need to do real-time image classification, don't do it this way. What you need to do is to export your model and run it locally. We could potentially demo a IoT application in the future videos, and I can show you how to use a TF Lite model on a Raspberry Pi to provide edge image classification capabilities. And that's it. You've just built and tested your very first AI image classifier without writing any code. With Custom Vision AI, you're able to create powerful models in minutes, all through simple drag and drop steps. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more tutorials on accessible AI tools and tips for developers. In the next video, I'll show you how to take this model even further by deploying it in Azure Functions, so stay tuned.